Good evening. I like I like to call to order the Richland County Administrative Finance Committee for March the 25th, 2025. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Pugh,
Here.
Little,
Here.
Livingston,
Here.
Weaver,
Here.
Aline.
Here.
Motion approved. I'm sorry. We have a quorum.
Good. Before we get started, I'd like to recognize my colleagues that are joining us that are not on this committee, and that would be the Honorable Cheryl English and the Honorable Allison Terratio. Thank you guys for joining us this evening, and I apologize. Yes, go ahead. Nah, thank you, Honorable Jason Brennan, for joining us as well. Thank you. All right. Second item on the agenda is approval for minutes for February 25th, 2025. I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am. Second.
I move that we approve the minutes as published, or as disseminated, excuse me.
Second. All right. It's been moved and properly second. Madam Clerk, can you call for the vote? Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Aline.
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right. Everybody take a deep breath and center ourselves. All right. The next item on the agenda is item number 3, the adoption of the agenda. Mr. Brown, is there any deletions or changes to this agenda, sir?
No requested changes, Mr. Chair.
All right. All right. With that being said, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we adopt the agenda as published.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, can you call for the vote, please?
Pugh,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Livingston, Weaver,
Yes.
Aline.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay. That moves us to item number 4 on the agenda is an item for action from administration, the East Richland Public Service District 2025 General Obligation Bonds. Mr. Brown, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to ask the clerk to go to page 9 of your agenda packet, where under the strategic and general discussion, it says the East Richland Public Service District is planning to issue not to exceed $10 million of its general obligation bonds to pay for various improvements to its facilities as a special purpose task district. The East Richland Public Service District, under state law, the district must request and secure approval from Richland County prior to issuing general obligation bonds, which is why the request is coming to you from the district. The district in its packet has provided the attached bond situation sheet, which provides additional background on the planned bond issue. Madam Clerk, if you go back up to page 8, and you will see the actual request where the service district is seeking authorization from Richland County Council to issue general obligation bond to defray the cost of improvements and repairs to its water system. Also in the packet, the district has communicated that it will structure its debt not to affect rates. So you can see under the additional fiscal budgetary matters response, it says there's no fiscal impact nor obligation to the Richland County. The commission estimates that the cost of the project and cost of issuance of the bonds will not exceed $10 million. The district's bonds do not constitute debt of the county and do not count against Richland County's debt limit. The district also indicates that it will restructure the repayments of the bond so that no millage increase is required. So I'm sharing all this information to you because the district has provided this. They're trying to communicate to you what their intent is. They're trying to establish what the work will be done with the bonds if you approve them, and why they're asking you for the approval, because you are the entity that had to do that under state law, as they are a special purpose tax district. So with that being said, Mr. Chair, on page 11 is the last item I'll bring up, because there is a recommendation that is listed there as well. As a part of this total process, if you approve this request, they're asking for the adoption of a resolution on April 15th, which would authorize a public hearing to happen on June 3rd at 6 o'clock p.m. And then as part of the process, assuming that council considers approving this, then they're going to be asking for first reading to happen on April 15th, second reading on May 6th, public hearing and third reading on June 3rd. So what they did was try to provide in the packet all of what their ask is, and then walk you through what their process would look like. So the request for the district at this point would be for this committee to approve this to go to full council, if the committee was so inclined to do that.
Entertain questions? Mr. Weaver, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to speak in favor of the proposal. I met with some of the leadership of East Richland County when one of their commissioners, Jennifer, was up for re-election a couple months ago, and they do a good job. A lot of it affects my district. They've kept rates really solid down on the public. So I think they're doing a good job, and I think they've been very fiscally prudent, and I intend to support this proposal.
Mr. Brenham, you recognize.
How are they paying the debt? Is it just through the revenue they collect from customers?
There is someone who can speak to that directly, but that is my understanding, but I don't want to speak to their business because that's a separate entity. But if, Mr. Pugh, if you want to recognize a representative who is here that maybe can address that question.
And who's that
Okay.
representative?
So we'll ask him to give his name and,
Yes, sir.
and his affiliation.
Yes, sir. If you could give us your name and your affiliation, and you have the floor, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Gary Pope of Pope Flynn. We're bond counsel to East Richland Public Service District. The district currently has 2 series of general obligation bonds outstanding, and those are rolling off, and those are payable from tax millage. And so as those are starting to roll off, this can be layered on so that it does not impact tax rates, and they can continue to make a variety of investments in the system without impacting customers' bills.
Answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Questions?
And how, what's the maturity of the bond, how long?
So that is to be determined, but I think the idea is to keep it pretty short as they start in order to capture the millage as it drops off and keep
That's
it.
why I asked the question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
keep it as level as you can.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, that would conclude the presentation of the request. And so I'm not asking on behalf of, I'm presenting the request. And the request is for the council or this committee to approve the district's authorization to issue general obligation bonds to defray the cost of the improvements and repairs to the wastewater system that they maintain.
Approve, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, can you call for the vote, please?
Pugh,
Yes.
Leto,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Aline.
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right. Thank you. On to item number 5 on the agenda. It says items pending analysis, no action required. 5A, I move to direct the county administrator to research and present options for Richland County to enact a hate ordinance. Councilwoman Little, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman Pugh. As previously stated, and you guys have all received some information concerning the hate crime ordinance. So is there any questions at this time?
Mr. Chair, I
Yes,
think
yes, sir.
administration is presenting it to
Okay.
the committee.
Got you. Well, Mr. Brown, you recognized.
So this item, as you see, was a motion made by the council member. We provided draft information for you so that if you had any input, any feedback, any thoughts that you wanted to share before this item completes is reviewed through the legal office and comes back through the agenda briefing process and comes before the committee, wanted to give you that document to at least be able to have a discussion if you so chose to on this evening. But next steps for this process would be for us to receive any input and feedback. We can do that here in the form of this committee. You could also share information, via email. The follow-up process would then be circulated through the agenda briefing process, currently in review by legal, and then it would come back before this committee as an item for action as the next part of this process. But what we provide you today is the draft as it currently stands.
Right. You have, Mr. Wright?
No, I was saying this is the opportunity for the committee members and council members present to give their input and what they want in the actual draft ordinance, as far as, you know, what specific things they want in or don't want in. So this is the time to give the input.
Do anybody have any questions? Yes, sir. Mr. Livingston, you recognize, sir.
I'm fine with the draft. One concern I always have when these issues come up, and I think I've gotten my answer for that one, and that is, you know, we could pass these things, but if the sheriff is not going to enforce it, it doesn't happen, and I understand that the sheriff is willing to enforce it.
Councilwoman Little, you recognize?
Yes, the sheriff is actually in support of it, and so is the solicitor as well.
So, Mr. Brown, if I heard you correctly, this is an opportunity, and Mr. Wright, this is an opportunity for us to ask questions, but it seems to me that people might need to digest this a little bit and do exactly what you just said, is go send emails and comments to what they may want to see in this ordinance, and then you guys will put it together and have it in a briefing document for our next meeting, right?
That is also correct, yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Yes, ma'am, Council.
I just have a couple of questions with regards to the educational component of it. It says that the money that is collected, meaning the fines, would go toward educational programs that train, I guess, the public regarding bias. Who makes the determination in terms of what educational programs would receive the funding, and what criteria will be used to determine which educational programs receive funding?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer that question two ways. One, I'm going to have ACA, Dr. Thompson, address that as helping putting this together. And then the other component that we kind of talked about, part of when you are fined, and we use for an example, if I were driving and I got a driving citation and I was trying to, get points off my license, then I may have the ability to go and take a training, but that training would not necessarily be dictated, as to who you would go see for it. It would just, you need to come back with the appropriate, certificate showing that. So I would answer it that way. And then more specifically, Dr. Thompson, if you could address the council member's question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Brown. Councilwoman Aileen, so bottom line is, I think as I've had a chance to research on the internet different types of programs, so it depends on the violation. And so, of course, hate crimes is the general ordinance that's before you, but if it's a crime based on violating someone on sexual orientation versus someone who may be of a different faith from us. So I think one step in terms of a path forward is to be able to identify different types of training programs and to be able to have those at folks' disposal in terms of selecting those types of programs when the judge says, hey, that you must enter into some type of educational program. And so with that being said, to follow up on what the county administrator just stated, we won't tell you which program to go to, but you have an idea that you must give some type of certificate to the judge to say that you've satisfied your obligation in terms of being educated. And so with that being said, we may, I had a chance to talk to Councilwoman Little, who also shared some wisdom with me. That provision in this proposed draft may just come out altogether, where the county does not, and talk to Mr. Brown, county does not accept the money. So bottom line is, you need training, you go get training.
Thank you. I had a question, I guess, about the ordinance itself. Like all of our ordinance, it applies to unincorporated Richland County, correct?
Yes, ma'am. In terms of the way law enforcement, in terms of the way Richland County Sheriff's Department works, we actually go in unincorporated.
Yeah.
And
That's correct.
Thank you. And so we do have, I believe, maybe 6 municipalities within the county. Do any of our other municipalities currently have a hate crime ordinance or law established?
Yes, ma'am. City of Columbia, town of Arcadia Lakes are two that come to mind.
And when comparing our language with fines or educational requirements, are we in agreement with theirs, or maybe are we a little stronger than theirs? What would you say when comparing with those municipalities?
We're on par.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, Councilwoman Little, you recognize.
Thank you. There is a couple of things that I see in here that would actually need to come out. And if we look at, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, paragraph 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. So here, this is actually citing municipal law. So we would have to take that out. Okay.
Right, and I did review it there. In general, the ordinance, the draft is fine. There's just certain things that would be tweaked as far as like actually putting in the county code, because we have section 18, which are the offenses in which this would actually go into section 18 of the county code. So that would need to be put in here, and just the general relation to state law. But so there are certain things that would be tweaked, but if you have any other ideas as far as certain things that you would want added as far as the hate crime issue, or like, because it already has religion, gender, things like that. So if you want things adjusted, just let us know. And the one thing I do recommend is most other towns and counties that kind of have that, at least in South Carolina, it's called hate intimidation, because when we did it in the city of Columbia when I was there, it's called hate intimidation, and like Arcadia Lakes also has theirs. Is that I think that may be a more appropriate term for when we do add it in the section, because it'll be the section of our offenses would be the hate intimidation section versus hate crimes, because it would be an enhancement for any other crime that somebody's charged with.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So I guess we'll take heed to what you said, Mr. Brown, and if we look at this ordinance and we want to insert anything or think anything may need to be removed, we'll send it in an email, and that way when the document is updated, then we come back to administrative finance and we move forward with it. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. The expectation that for my team with that, we will be prepared to have this item on your next agenda for potential action by this particular body.
All right. With that being said, we're going to go to item number 6 on the agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
Move that we adjourn.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, can you call for the vote, please?
Pugh,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Livingston, Weaver,
Yes.
Aline.
Yes.
Motion approved.
We are adjourned.